We haven't had an event that has brought us together since 9/11.
True.
We're pushing propaganda that, one, isn't true. The fact that we don't say a pledge anymore in our schools, that's so anti-American.
All the way through 12th grade, my senior year, we said the pledge every day. I mean, it was just what you did. 6 companies control 90% of the media that America is being fed.
Hey everybody, it's Red Taylor here, and I've got a big old favor to ask of you. If you would, go down and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also please share this episode with someone that you care about. Man, that would mean the absolute world to me. You never know, it could mean the world to them as well. So thanks a million, and please enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, Red Taylor here with the Red Hot Read, and I am super excited to bring you today's guest. Buckle up, because this young lady is going to inspire you. She's going to give you knowledge and information that you don't already know. And at the end of today's show, I believe that you, as I, will be 1,000% overwhelmingly convinced that Kennedy has a bright future and is going to be an overwhelming success. Kennedy is a dynamic entrepreneur and the owner of Kennedy Ventures, LLC, currently serving as a campaign manager, communications director, marketer, and fundraiser. Kennedy embodies courage in the dark world of the American political system. Her sharp attention to detail, coupled with a brazen political instinct, makes her one of the fiercest conservative strategists in her community. With a diverse background in political campaigns and nonprofit organizations, she's demonstrated a steadfast commitment to her beliefs and values within the conservative movement in America, which she strives to use for the betterment of her country. And she loves her country, I can tell you that right now. Despite facing constant attacks from the radical left and the establishment, Kennedy remains strong in her pursuit of truth and making a meaningful difference in the beautiful nation that she calls home. And we are really grateful and thankful to have her here on the Red Hot Read today. Kennedy, welcome.
Thank you so much. Wow, what a great intro. I cannot beat that.
Well, I'm so glad that you like it, and you know, doing this intro and doing this show with you today has a special place in my heart because my daughter's name is Kennedy.
Yeah, well, it's the best name, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like regal. It's like royalty. I mean, you come out of the womb as royalty and destined for great things.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Give the audience a little bit of background. Who are you? Where are you from? And what does all of this mean, being a fierce competitor, campaign manager, marketing director in today's political landscape?
Wow.
Hey everybody, Red Taylor here, and I wanted to remind you that if at any time you're interested in shopping your health insurance or life insurance rates, my team of experts work for my viewers for free. So reach out to us, click the link in the description at redtaylorinsurance.com, and we'll go to work. We'll see if we can save you a ton of money and upgrade your benefits. If we can't, we're going to tell you, hey, stay right where you are. What you have is working, and we're happy for you. If things ever change, let us know. So reach out. We're happy to help. Enjoy the show.
What a great question. So I am from Omaha, Nebraska, born and raised. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings.
Go Big Red.
Go Big Red, baby.
Huskers, Let's go.
Huskers. Hey, we were good in the 90s. Maybe it's our year this year. I don't know. But yeah, I was blessed into a great family, and my parents are business owners. And so, you know, from a very young age, I understood what it took to, you know, make it on your own. And, you know, my parents, they wanted to offer a lot to us as kids, send us in private school, be able to put us on different sports teams, you know, and that really taught me not only the value of money, but it taught me the value of family. And, you know, money isn't everything, but money does buy you freedom. And so I think, you know, I learned that from a young age. And what Kennedy Ventures is about, it's about, well, one, me not working for a corporation, which is a great thing in today's world.
I love it.
You know that as a business owner.
Absolutely. Been an entrepreneur for about 25 years myself.
25 years, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And, you know, I got into political campaigning for a number of reasons, which we can get into later. But what I really love about the political system today is as I'm a young person emerging into this world, I try and inspire more, especially young women who are afraid to speak out, who are being told lies from the left, because, they're not worried about the truth anymore, or frankly, they never have been.
Right.
And so if I can just change one person's heart and mind, that's my mission and goal.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So let's go and kind of unpack this, because I do believe that people want to know how you got to this point. You're so impressive, and you've got so much going for you that I want other parents to understand what your parents did, because, we as parents, I'm a parent of 6.
Wow, congratulations.
Well, thank you so
by
much.
The way.
Yeah, thank you. So the apple generally doesn't fall too far from the tree. Hunter Biden and Sleepy Joe, and what's going on with that pack of feral dogs. Sorry.
Well said.
Yeah. So tell us about your family. Tell us about your parents. What were the family businesses, and what were the core values and the principles and the practices growing up that got you to where you are today?
Yeah, great question. Number one, it's our faith in God. I was raised on a foundation. I was raised on values. And I think a lot of what we're seeing today is, especially in my generation, we're not raised on values. We're raised on what makes me feel good. Is society okay with this, or is it not? And I don't care. And it's interesting, because how I look at how my generation has been, we haven't had an event that has brought us together since 9/11.
True.
The only thing that we've really experienced tragically here is, and so what did that do? It woke me up to the reality of our government and how far they're willing to go. But back to your question, which is my values and beliefs. My parents always told me to believe in Jesus and never lose my faith, and if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here today.
Amen.
Amen. And so they really prioritized Christian education, which I believe is very important. My mother said, no way in hell is she going to public school.
Good.
And, at first I was upset. I mean,
of course.
I can't be at a big school. I can't be at the big sports teams. But that's not what it's about anymore. What it's about now is they're pushing agendas. They're pushing propaganda that, one, isn't true. The fact that we don't say a pledge anymore in our schools, that's so anti-American. It blows my mind.
Listen, that's a great point. I'm a product of public school. I mean, all the way through public high school, college, all that good stuff. Okay. But every year of my schooling, all the way through 12th grade, my senior year, we said the pledge every day. Okay. I mean, it was just what you
did.
Back
in the 90s.
Yeah, back in the 90s. I graduated high school in 1990. Yeah, 90. And so I'm dating myself a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we always said the pledge, and it was, I look back now today, and I actually ended up being a public school teacher for a little bit, just a cup of coffee. Okay. So I was a football coach and a public school teacher, and man, I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to help the youth. I felt like, God had given me passion and purpose and all those things. And so, my heart was coaching football, and I was really good at coaching football, but in order to do it, you had to be a high school teacher. And so I went and got me a history degree and started teaching social studies. And so didn't last very long, but I enjoyed the kids. I just didn't enjoy the restraints that the administration had put on you and where it had gone to the late 90s and the early 2000s. But when we were young, there was no indoctrination. Okay, we weren't being indoctrinated by these extremist educators one way or the other. I mean, politics didn't really enter the classroom. We didn't know one way or the other who was president hardly. It was President Reagan because you saw him on the nightly news. We had 3 channels that had news back then: NBC, ABC, CBS nightly news, and that was it. Okay, and that's what most people. That's where we got our news. We didn't have a 24-hour news cycle with all these different sources in our hands constantly. But now you hit on something that is so true and so damning to the system that we're in today. And that's that the public school system has been taken over by radical extremists, it seems.
Absolutely. It has. And to bring up your point, I want to point out this one fact. I took some goals from the communist agenda, and just to read a couple off that we're talking about. Get control of the schools, use them as transmission. That's number 17. Number 18, gain control of student newspapers. Number 19, infiltrate the press, gain control of key positions like radio, TV, motion pictures.
Wow. And so, and that's from the Communist Manifesto, or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I'll send it to you after this.
Yeah. And how prepared is this girl? Taking notes on the Communist Manifesto. Is it the Marx book? Is that? Or,
aren't they all the same?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, and I guess the second one that you mentioned there is to get control, or the third one you mentioned is to get control of the press. Okay,
right.
And you've brought some receipts with you on that. So
of course.
Tell us how the communists or how the extremists have got control of the press, or do they? I mean, President Trump calls them the right.
Of course.
He coined the term. Before President Trump, nobody in the world really used a term on any relative normalcy like. But now America's awake. The world's awake. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. Well, number one, that's why Trump is so dangerous, because he speaks the facts. He knows the truth. When I go back and I look at who Trump used to be before he was president, right? He's a billionaire. Number two, he has an empire. And number three, he used to be all of the Democrat and probably some Republican donors, right? Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing I know in campaigning is money is a lot of how you play the game, which is unfortunate today. And I think that's where we've gotten off track in our system. But needless to say, Trump understood their system and what they were doing. And so it was very dangerous when he left and became a Republican, because they know he knows, mm-hmm. right? And so the press is specifically targeting him as an untruthful billionaire that's all about himself, which none of it is true.
Racist.
Yeah.
Bigot. All of the liar. Mm-hmm. All this stuff. But
all the propaganda. Yeah. And we've never seen a president attacked so much like him until 2015, right before the 2016 election.
Yeah.
And Candace Owens, that's one prominent person that woke up to it and said, wait a second, what's going on? You could really tell the bias from all aspects.
Yeah, so she was really not even involved in 2015.
She was a Democrat.
So she was a Democrat, but she didn't really have a strong position one way or the other. She wasn't really outspoken to it until 2015, until she saw the conglomerate news go into full-fledged war attack mode against President Donald J. Trump the second that he came down the escalator with his beautiful wife, Melania, the most wonderful, beautiful first lady our country's ever known, and made the announcement that he was going to run as a Republican.
Yep.
So tell us about the media. How does that work? Because are they all in unison? Are they all in one step together?
Yeah, great question that you bring up. And this is probably my favorite question to discuss, because we've always watched the news, TV shows, movies, but have we really taken a second to say, where's this coming from? What message is being pushed? What are they actually trying to get across? And so I did my research again. My dream's always been to be a journalist, but how can I be a journalist in an untruthful world now, today? So I took a different approach. But here we can see in 1983, 90% of American media was owned by 50 companies. In 2011, the same 90% was controlled by only 6%.
Wow.
6 companies.
Hold on a second. So, hold on. This blows my mind. Listen to this. Say that again. In 2011.
In 2011, the same 90% is now controlled by 6 companies.
So 6 companies control 90% of the media that America is being fed?
Every single day.
Every day. By the same 6 companies?
Yes.
Okay. What 6 companies are those?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll list them off. So number 1 is GE. Those are Comcast, NBC, Universal Pictures, and Focus Features. Number 2, News Corp. Fox, Wall Street Journal, New York Post. Number 3, Disney. ABC, ESPN, Pixar, Miramax, Marvel Studios. Number 4, Viacom. MTV, Nick Jr., BET, CMT, and Paramount Pictures. Number 5, Time Warner. CNN, our favorite.
Oh, yeah.
HBO, Time, and Warner Brothers. And then number 6, Showtime, Smithsonian Channel, NFL, Jeopardy, and 60 Minutes.
All owned by CBS. So these 6 corporations, GE, News Corp, Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, and CBS, are in control of 90% of the messaging. It's messaging, people. It's not necessarily news. Messaging that if you're glued into a television set, whether you're buying local cable, whether you're buying satellite, whether you're buying Roku, Hulu, whatever, and you're dialed into one of these networks, you're getting the same messaging that is coming from a woke, extreme, authoritarian media. And that is why I believe wholeheartedly that President Trump calls them the. And it was President Trump's presidency, and I believe that's one of the main reasons, maybe the divine reasons of his first term, was to maybe pull the curtain back a little bit. Because before that, and you mentioned that the COVID lockdowns, the shutdowns woke people up, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, it woke
Absolutely.
you up, and it woke me up. I didn't know. I was just like cruising along, man. I was just doing my thing, I didn't really. I was kind of political. I listened to Rush Limbaugh. I used to love Rush Limbaugh.
Rush.
He's
Yeah,
great.
he's
Okay,
great.
and I've been, somewhat passionate about it, but I didn't realize all of the darkness that was going on, like I see now. Like I think so many Americans and even people in the world see now, since President Trump pulled the curtain back, mm-hmm. and they had to stop him with the lockdowns because, guys, think about it. That really did happen. Okay?
And now we act like it didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, no. No, that didn't.
6 feet apart, social distancing.
Wearing a mask. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Shut your business down. Can't go to church. Can't have a wedding. Somebody's in the hospital. Can't go see them. No funeral. That really happened.
Oh, also churches. And this was biblical also. The first Easter where everybody was at home.
Oh, yeah. Is right after.
And I think a lot of Christians, and there is a church in Omaha actually that stayed open, that faced a lot of criticism for that. I applaud them.
Yeah.
Because, as a Christian woman, it did make me upset that churches shut down. And we have a voice and we have a faith. And if there's one thing I've noticed, especially working in this field, is that the Democrats will stop at nothing to tear that down.
Yeah, these guys, I'm telling you, that's one of the things that I've noticed and that I believe wholeheartedly is that the Democrats, and really, I don't necessarily believe in Democrats and Republicans anymore. I know you don't like to hear that, but I believe in patriots and traitors. Okay. I really do.
I like that better.
I believe in patriots and traitors because, but one thing that I have seen, and they call, we use the term Democrats for the traitors, is that they are in unison. They are in lockstep, okay? And like you said, there is nothing they won't do to stop President Trump, okay? Hey, go back to 2019 and remember your life. Go back and look at your bank account. Go back and look at the way things were rocking and rolling for you. Look at the price of gas. Look at your energy bill. Look at your mortgage payment. Look at the value of your home. All those things relative. And then go back and think about how his rallies were. Okay? They were jam-packed. Everything was going on. The black people were loving him. Hispanics were loving him. Their employment rates were at the highest that they've ever been. Okay, people were showing up all over the place for his rallies. Okay, gas was cheap. Interest rates were low. You didn't have to factor in, as a business, you didn't have to factor in the cost of money, because 90% of American businesses, entrepreneurs, debt is a part of business. You have to have debt service, and at 3%, 2%, 4%, you didn't have to worry about it. Okay. Today, 8%, 9%, it makes a big, big difference. Okay. And so they had to stop him somehow. And he told us over and over again they were going to steal the election. Did he not?
He did.
Over and over again. Okay. And bam, they came in with the Wuhan. And I don't know if you remember this, but he'd stepped right in March and April. Dude was stepping up to the mic every single day. Like in the middle of the day, you'd see him on the TV in a live news conference, taking bullets all the, and he kept calling it China. He kept saying it's the China.
Funniest.
Hey,
yeah, China.
Well, I recently learned that there's a town in Ukraine called China. Chyna.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
What a name.
Okay. So, and then you put that in there, and then you factor in that we somehow, I don't know, have like 20, 25 taxpayer-funded bioweapons labs in Ukraine. I mean...
Don't even get me started on Ukraine.
So, I mean, and then you factor in that, I don't know, the genius of all humankind, Hunter Biden, was sitting on the board of big medical and pharmaceutical companies like Metabiota, and
which he made a lot of money off of.
Off of them over there. And then let me ask you a question. Why would America use taxpayer money to fund bioweapons labs in Ukraine?
Oh man, I truly think this agenda of we need to send money to Ukraine for war and whatever they want to call it at this point, it's the most anti-American thing I could ever think of.
Come on, Kennedy, you're Gen Z. You've got a Ukraine flag in your signature. Your generation has a heart and care for Ukrainians. Come on.
I mean, it's interesting to me to have such a love of another country when I look at these riots in probably the most prestigious education systems, Ivy League schools, where, they're sitting on, lots of money and a great education system and a safe environment here in America, but they want to go and riot in America about another country that doesn't even affect them. Are you kidding me?
Can't find it on a map. None of those kids could find Ukraine on a map.
Are you kidding? Why don't you go over to Ukraine?
And step up.
Yeah. How about if you care that much, leave America and go. I really want to see who would do that that's rioting right now, because let's be honest, they're all Soros people and they're all being paid to do it.
Absolutely. So maybe like the same Soros people that were doing all the riots in BLM during the Summer of Love.
Right. Yeah.
Remember
Black
those guys?
Lives Matter. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's think about their racism agenda on how, Republicans don't care about this. What was the Civil War about? We are the only country that went to war to stop racism.
Right.
And that's never talked about.
No.
There's no Black Lives Matter, okay? America is one of the most diverse countries now today, more than ever, especially with our open borders, may I add.
Okay, that's a topic we'll cover, but stay on stay in the lane.
Yeah, so when they want to push this agenda and, they need to say this certain race needs to vote for us because we care more, all that is propaganda. All that is straight manipulation, because if that really was the case, we would have never gone to war, okay? Mm-hmm. Number one, to stop it. And they are trying to cover history up.
Well, they're trying to rewrite history, and they don't teach the fact that President Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. And he was the first Republican in history to run on an anti-slavery platform. It was President Lincoln who was adamant about freeing the slaves, about abolition, and in support of it. Now, I don't necessarily know that that was the number one reason that we had the Civil War. I think it may have been that some of the other states were, beginning to secede and create their own currency, and some of that. There were a lot of different factors, but a byproduct of that was that, the slaves got their freedom. Okay, and listen, I think that that's a stain. That all the period of time before that is a stain on American history. Okay, no human deserves to be a property of any other human, regardless of race, gender, religion, creed, at all. We all know that to be wrong inherently, and so that's a stain on American history. But since then, there has been a great deal of effort to make good on that stain, to go away from that practice. And I think as a country, we've done a heck of a job of that. Okay. Because if you want to really talk about slavery right now, look in the Congo. Okay. Look at, guys, really, these cell phones, every single one of these batteries were bought by slave blood. Okay, diamonds, the diamonds that we wear, all of the electric vehicles that are out there, those batteries, all of those come off the back of slave labor. Okay, is it right? No, absolutely not. Okay,
but we're also not educated on that.
No.
It's the people that truly care that will research that and go behind the scenes, like the press. But that's another thing they don't want you to know.
But then all those people protesting and, standing out there, the climate agenda and the green agenda, every single one of them's holding an iPhone in their hand. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them has a MacBook back in their apartment. Right. Okay. So how truly deeply do they really believe in their cause? Or are they being funded by outside sources like George Soros? These are all scenarios that I think so many people are being awakened to right now that they truly do affect our lives. Okay. I mean, you have this scenario, like you said, that's going on these once prestigious college campuses, beacons of education in our country, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, Columbia, that have turned out some of, quote unquote, the greats, some of the leaders. Right. And now they're being torn asunder by these extremists. Why is that?
I think, again, like I said earlier, my generation hasn't experienced a uniting of our generation or of America since 9/11, right? And the only thing we've really experienced is, and I also think we're not taught our history anymore. We're not taught why we believe it. We're not taught our American values anymore because they don't want us to. They don't want us to think. They want us to hate our country because they have these agendas of controlling the press, controlling the media, controlling what we think. And in a system like that, they don't want anyone to be pro-America because I do believe America was a gift from God. And it was once free, right? But I think after a lot has shifted, and that's why Trump is more dangerous and why they don't want him to run again. And I think there are angels that are surrounding him.
Oh, gosh. Yes, I've said that.
And it does really bug me, and I'm sure you're the same way, when people say, oh, but what about the things he said about women? What about the fact that now he's a convicted felon? The only reason they did that is so that they could call him a convicted felon. Right. The judge was bought out. He was also a Democratic donor, may I add, and his daughter, a fundraiser for the Democratic Party. Isn't that a coincidence?
She's made millions off of that case alone. So there's a laundry list of prominent Democrat politicians who have sent money to his daughter's business.
I'm glad you've looked into that too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And Juan Merchan, we all know that quack is a lefty bought and paid for. Change gears with me because we're going down a path where I want to understand your passion, your purpose, and this system that we've got now. The political system is so backwards, and it's so rotten, and it's so corrupt, and it's so terrible to say that that we're all being governed, and the rules that we're having to play by are being made by all these corrupt people. And so with that being said, tell me how you discovered your passion for this, for this lane, for this system. What's your purpose, and what is your goal? Like, why? What's your why, Kennedy?
Well, I love that question. And again, faith plays a big part in my story. And everything has been ordained in a certain way so that, people can see God's light and people can know and trust him, especially in my story. And it hasn't been all easy, but I'll start with this. So when I grew up, I was dyslexic. I couldn't read very well. I always had to work harder than all of my peers and all my students. And what can that do to somebody that's, 5 to 6 years old? It really stumps their confidence. It really stumps their belief in themselves. And I grew up having so much anxiety about what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to be good at it? And there was no trust in myself, right? And so I always carried this on my back, like I had to be better than everybody else and work harder. So I remember, I was never a school person. I love social sciences. I went to a school that was very STEM focused and STEM based. Math, sciences. If you didn't have a 4.0, you weren't worthy. I certainly had a good GPA, but I never had a 4.0. And so just always felt dumb, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you the moment I didn't was when I entered my first U.S. history class in my freshman year of high school.
Okay. And
it was like, click, the light went off. I just discovered America and the values and the systems it holds and, where we are today and why. And I was obsessed, and then learning about our presidents and their agendas, and then campaigning as a whole nother aspect of it. How do you get someone elected? Why do they want to run? Their values. It's so interesting and intriguing to me. And so I decided, why don't I do something about this? And so I started a political club with one of my great friends in high school.
Okay.
And everything was going extremely well until we were told that somebody, and when you go to private school, you have parents that pay more money, obviously.
Sure.
And one of them had an issue with this. And so they told us we were dividing the school. People didn't agree with what we were saying. It wasn't a good look for our school. But if a teacher sponsored our club, then we could still have the club. Not one teacher I went to sponsored the club.
What?
Not one.
Cowards.
Complete cowards,
All
right?
cowards.
But it's sad because this political system does make people fear what's going to happen if I speak out? What's going to happen if I stand up? But the problem is, what type of free society are you living in if you think that way? And I can't live like that, and I don't want to.
Yeah, good.
So,
good for you. Good for America. You're going to be good for America.
Yeah.
And you're right. We were talking off camera a little bit about, speaking out and being bold about your position and being bold about the truth and passionate about the truth and having a purpose. And those are actually two separate things. Passion and purpose are two different things. And it's during this time, it is more dangerous and will cause you more trouble than it ever has been. And why? How is that? Okay. We're supposed to have a First Amendment right, freedom of speech. I mean, it's guaranteed by our Constitution, which is the most immaculate, incredible, extraordinarily great, magnificent, living governmental document in the history of humankind. I mean, you have the Holy Bible and you have the United States Constitution. Okay? Really? Okay? And so, obviously one's not related to the other, but for the purpose of our conversation here and talking about, publications or whatnot. So why today in 2024, okay, can a person not feel confident to be able to speak out their beliefs? Okay? Everybody has beliefs. Everybody does. You have a mind. You have DNA. You have a brain. God gave you the ability to reason. That's why we're not animals. Okay? That's what separates us from animals. We have the ability to reason and rationalize. Okay?
Absolutely.
It's the why. Why would I do this? If I do this, this may happen. If I don't do this, this won't happen. Okay? This looks like future. This looks like my past. Okay? It's reason. It's humans. And we all have it. Everybody does. So why can you not confidently, comfortably speak your mind anymore?
Great question. And I will follow this up with kind of the rest of my story and how I came to find this out. So after, this happened and my dad said, I was crushed. I had my club taken away from me. We recruited
brokenhearted.
We recruited so many people, and
that was your first broken heart.
It was, yep. But before the ex-boyfriend.
Oh, that rascal.
Yeah. Oh, well. God will prepare one good.
There you go.
At some point.
Love it. Absolutely.
But anyways, my dad said, this is one of many instances in your life when something is going to be taken away from you. And what separates you from others is, are you going to take the action to do something about it, or are you going to sit on the sidelines?
Good.
Because the losers sit on the sidelines, but the winners go and take action. And that's really how I live my life and why I decided to start my business early. And so hence I go into the congressman's office, campaign office. The next day, I tell my story. You're gonna say
so hold on. You just hit me right there. So you left from being shut down by the school of your Young Republicans Club. You actually physically went to your congressional representative's office the next day.
The next day,
dude, I'm loving it. Give me 5. I love it.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm blown away. I love it.
No, it's great. And so I went to the campaign manager, who now I actually run his campaign.
What?
Which is, it's just the coolest story.
Yeah,
and only God can orchestrate something like that. And so I remember, telling him what I should do, if I can intern, and he was like, oh, absolutely. But when I asked him what I should do, I remember him saying to me, even Jesus was hated in his own hometown for telling the truth.
Yes.
And I just got chills saying that, but it's so true today. The truth is we're so far from it today. And Jesus warned us about this. And if there's any story that relates more to that, it's the story in the Bible, because when you're giving a falsehood of, if you're not comfortable in your own body, Red, you can change your gender. That's okay. When it used to be called gender dysphoria.
That was the term.
Right.
That was the publicly accepted term for being a trans person or changing your gender. It was called gender dysphoria, right?
Yes.
And so now what do we call that?
Now, what is it? Gender identity. There's like 100,000 now term. Like, I don't even, it's alphabet soup. I can't even keep up with it.
Yeah.
It's
it
not
changes,
funny. But
it changes every day. No, it's not.
It
No,
does.
it's not funny. It is not. Because I truly believe that those folks have, it's not just a mental illness. And I believe that mental illness is a problem in our country. But I believe that is a demonic mental illness. Well, if you can,
it is demonic.
Yes,
absolutely.
Because think about it. If you can make a person, okay, let's just say if there were, enough thoughts in my head, enough influences in my brain to make me, okay, you, a miraculously perfect, one-of-a-kind image made in being made in the image of the Almighty, okay, that the scripture says he loves you when you were in your mother's womb. He knew you. He loved you. He formed you. Okay. And there are forces that enter my mind to make me want to be something different than that. Okay. Like, I'm not supposed to be a boy. I'm supposed to be a girl. Okay. And to believe that is demonic. It's not of this earth.
And by the way, you can change your gender before you have the right to drink alcohol.
Yeah, and you can do it without your parents knowing.
Right. Which makes that's logic.
Are those laws? Did our leaders make that law? Is that what we're dealing with now? Is those the people that are making your rules for you, that you're sending your tax money to? Okay. Jeez. I mean, listen, in this company, in my company, okay, I've worked really hard for this company, and the culture that I have here is stemmed on biblical principles. It's stemmed on integrity and character. And, one of our major things, we do health insurance for people who are small business owners, entrepreneurs that work for, small companies. And one of our main carriers is a faith-based healthcare sharing program. Okay. And so in order to be a member, you have to be a Christian. You have to be able to say, hey, yes, I love the Lord. I'll live in by these Christian tenets. We won't do, illegal drugs and abuse alcohol and have babies out of wedlock. But one of the biggest selling features of that is that through the healthcare sharing ministry programs, that we don't share for and pay for things that are outside of our biblical ideological principles, like abortions, like sex and gender changes and reassignment, all those things that are so woke and damaging in these ideological principles that are ruining American lives and American families. Like, once you do it, how do you go back? And so that's something that I'm so thankful to have as a really prominent part of our portfolio here, and we help a lot of folks with it. So,
that's amazing. I just want to say,
yeah, it is. It is, and I actually talk to the folks at that organization an awful lot, and I'm like, I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Aetna, Cigna, Humana. I've got them all. We got them all. You're better than all of them. I'm telling you, okay? So if you could see, it's like I would encourage my kids or my players when I was coaching. If you could see yourself the way I see you, then man, we've got greatness ahead of us, okay?
Absolutely.
And that's that organization. I'm encouraging an organization to see themselves that way, not just you, but you definitely have greatness ahead of you too. By the way, I just want you to know that.
I
just want you to know that.
That.
So, like I told you, I'll get to yapping, man.
I know.
I'll go.
It's fun. This is what this is all about. Now, if you don't mind me asking you a question.
Yep.
Now, dealing with and as a business owner and all of those things, how did you see it affect your business? But not only that, but your family.
So. Yeah, I appreciate that. Great story. So, I had teenagers at the time, and our house was I always wanted all the kids to be at our house. So we always kept them fed and kept, the basement was cool, and they all hung out there. And, Grayson was in baseball, and he had broken his thumb on the first day of practice in January, and he was set to, and he was a catcher. He was really good, and he was set to come back on Friday, March the 12th. And that date is also Kennedy's birthday, March the 12th. Okay. Yeah. And so I remember vividly when they announced the lockdown. I mean, we're in the middle of March Madness. We're in the middle of baseball season, and bam, it was all just banged, gone, nothing. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't even really celebrate my daughter's birthday anywhere. So we just, everybody was just at the house. And at first I was kind of freaked out. I was like, dude, we got this that's supposed to be killing everybody and all that stuff. So I went down and told, I think we had like 12 kids in the basement at that time. I was like, look, here's the deal. Okay. I love every one of you guys, and I always want you here, and y'all know that, okay? But if you come here, then you got to stay here, okay? So you tell your parents, you go to Mr. Red's house, you got to stay at Mr. Red's house, okay? But if you go home, you got to stay home. You can't come back, all right? So that was kind of the way I did. But then I was researching it, so that lasted about 3 days. And I'm researching, I dove in deep, and I'm talking to doctors. I've got friends that are doctors and all this stuff. And the more I started diving in, the more I started realizing, like, man, I don't think this is hurting kids. It's, I don't think it's hurting people that are healthy. And I was looking at some other docs, and they were talking about these regimens, these supplemental regimens that you could take: zinc, quercetin, vitamin D3, vitamin C, and start building your immune system. So I started ordering all that kind of stuff, and I still do it to this very day.
Oh, holistic medicine.
Absolutely.
Is the way to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, but after a week, I was like, okay, y'all can come over, everybody come over, but I need you to bring a bottle of water and a roll of toilet paper or something like that, because you couldn't get it at the stores anymore. I mean,
right. Thanks, media.
Yeah, crazy thing about it. First thing to go was the toilet paper.
Yeah.
So anyways, everything went back. But my business, I classified myself as essential. Okay, I didn't wait for anybody to classify me. We never closed a day. So I told all our folks, I said, listen, guys, here's what I want you to know. If you feel strongly about this and you don't feel like you're comfortable coming to work, I get it. Don't come to work, okay? But I'm going to work, and we're going to keep those doors open for the people that need us. And I'm going to have Lysol, and we're going to have Germex, and we're going to do the light switches and the doorknobs, and you're going to close the door to your office, and we're going to do everything that we can, okay? I don't care nothing about no mask, okay?
I love it.
I don't care anything about I never wore a mask. I'd go into Publix or wherever I go. People would look at me, and they'd argue with me. I'd say, you're the one that looks stupid. You're wearing a mask. I mean, talk to me, okay? I'm grown. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm 50,
Well, and it looks just like they're silencing you.
Yeah, covering up your face and they're silencing you. Yeah. And so, and I'll never forget, like, a few weeks after the shutdown, and I'm researching, I'm calling doctors out, and I'm saying, dude, you're wrong about this. And they're like,
good for you.
I had a friend, like a buddy of mine, he's like, well, you can F the F off, because I'm telling you what I'm seeing in my office, and I'm like, and we still haven't patched that relationship up to this day, because I was right and he was wrong. Okay.
Imagine that.
And he, so, but anyway, and I still liked the guy, but he was wrong. So, where was I going with it about work? And I just gave everybody the choice. If you feel comfortable coming to work, come to work. If you don't, I get it. Don't. I'm not going to hold it against you. Mm-hmm. But we're essential. I'm not going to wait for anybody to tell me that I'm essential. Okay. So, we didn't ever catch any flack. We never lost a day of work. We never shut down. And I didn't lose, thank God I didn't lose any of my people, because they were all on board. Okay. And I gave them the choice. Now, it was weird at first, a little bit for the first couple of weeks, but after that it was, it was cool. I mean, right. So, thankfully. Conversely, I had Lindsey Graham. I don't know if you know the Patriot Barbie. Okay.
Yes.
Do you know Lindsey?
Yeah.
She was on the show a couple of weeks ago and gave her story about but up in Washington, and they had a terrible situation where she owned a big salon, they owned a big gym, they owned a couple of tanning salons, and they had just built a big house. Okay, and so their people needed to work to make money, to earn a living, and she needed to make money. So she defied the lockdown mandate, and they came at her like the absolute CCP, okay? $50,000 a day fines. They sent the police to her, told her they were going to lock her up. They sent DFACs to interview her children, and she didn't know who the vice president was at the time, okay? Lindsay's story is amazing, and she just felt called to stand up, really. And she was thrust into the media. She was thrust into the limelight as some woke freak, okay, or anti-woke, by the anti-woke mob. The mainstream media just attacked her. And man, she stood on her faith, and she has made such a profound difference with her story and her purpose from that. And I encourage anybody, go to the Patriot Barbie on Instagram, follow her. You're going to be enriched, because she is a patriot, And I told her that day, I said, Lindsay, I think it was James Madison, who's one of our great founding fathers and one of the great patriots in our country, who I do believe, Steve Bannon, the honey badger, I do believe that he will be, history will prove him and show him in a similar light as James Madison and those like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and those guys didn't really like each other a lot. I don't know. Many people don't realize that.
No.
Okay?
They were more enemies, but
Yeah.
standing for the same thing.
Right.
And it's interesting because he's standing for the truth.
Yeah.
And what people don't talk about is almost every single one of our founding fathers, they had repercussions like we're seeing with Trump. They were jailed, killed. And that's what happens when you stand for truth in a society that's full of lies.
Yep. Well, let's go back to Jesus. Let's go back to those 12 disciples. Okay. Many of us don't know, and I'm no scholar. I'm no biblical scholar, y'all. I am the absolute least among any of us. But I do know a little bit of the story of what happened to the disciples after they would not defy Jesus, okay? Because they did see him rise from the dead, okay? And each of them, because they would not defy his name, because they stood on truth, that he was the risen Savior, they were each, and I just got chill bumps, thank you, Lord. They were each, crucified there in their own right, and humiliated and beaten and terrorized and died very, very terrible, agonizing deaths because they would not give up their truth. Okay. And that's really what this movement is about, I think. You see what President Trump has done. I believe wholeheartedly that we are united now as a country, and more than we ever have been in any other time in history. Okay. We are fed so much division. We are fed so much infighting. We are fed so much crap. Okay, but I'm just telling you right now, this country is 75-25, maybe 80-20 good guys. Okay, and that other 20% or 25%, there's really only about 1%, 2% that are extreme hardies that are just, messed up. Okay, like think about it. All this mess that we hear about the trans movement, right? All that stuff that is thrown in our face. I mean, what are we? Are we in Pride Month right now?
I don't even know.
Is this supposed to be like Pride Month?
Well, you know what's funny is our veterans get one day.
One day. Yeah, died for.
What is that about? I mean,
you put your life on the line, fighting. Taking the bullets for the country, for the good of the country, for the flag, for the people, for the freedom.
Right.
Okay, you get one day. Okay, but because I'm, bi or gay or can you say queer anymore or trans or whatever? And look, listen, if that is your disposition, okay, then be that.
Just don't shove it in my face,
yeah,
please.
Yeah, because I'm not going to shove mine in your face. If
Right.
you want to tune into my podcast and you want to tune into my show and listen to my point of view, then great. But if not, just keep scrolling, bro. Dude, I'm good. I'm good. Okay.
You're not for them. That's okay.
That's right. We don't all have to be for each other. Okay. Yeah. But when you're propping it up as some type of normal lifestyle, as some type of circumstances that we have to all accept your sexual preference, okay, and we got to throw it in front of our kids and put the porn in front of our children when we know that it's so damaging, okay.
Yeah.
That there's something wrong, and everybody knows it. When only 1 or 2% of the population, the world population, truly adheres to that lifestyle and that real belief system. Okay, but this media is pumping it out to us so hard, so much that they're trying to destroy the American family. They're trying to destroy the Christian. The Christian faith.
Well, and not only that, but the nuclear family, right?
Yeah.
So in my generation, everybody wants to be a boss woman. And people call me, oh, you just want to be a boss woman. That's fine. So, they want to push boss woman.
Yeah.
And that it's not satisfactory. What's satisfactory is having a family, is producing children. Right? Tucker Carlson, my favorite media personality by far. And also he was booted from Fox. Megyn Kelly booted from Fox. Like, your best show, you got me on a rant now. I'm going off topic. But, the nuclear family is essential to American values.
Yes.
And when you want to disrupt that, then you make women have to be more masculine and you make men more feminine. And that doesn't work. And they want that instability because this is part of their communist agenda to disable society. So when you have, and I actually have a family friend, her daughter is going through a transition, right? And I want to touch on this because
the gender.
It's really sad. But what's even worse is if I want to talk to her or speak out about it, she says, not her. People will say, oh, but you just hate this. Like, why are you being such a hater? I'm not being a hater. It's because I love you. That I want to know why you're doing it, why you think this is okay, and what has brought you to this place, right? Because I care.
Yeah.
Because I know the facts of what they're trying to do. And what they've done essentially is just cover all of that up and make kids confused. And now, host drag shows in libraries or at public schools, and they want to say,
Sickening.
well, that's your freedom. No, it's not. It's not freedom when you're putting kids in a confusing situation when you still have laws where they can't drink till they're 21 or they can't vote till they're 18, but they can go watch a drag show and change their gender. That's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's backwards.
Yeah, that's wrong. It's wrong, and everybody knows it's wrong. That whole scenario is something where they're just trying to normalize the destruction of what you said, the nuclear family, of what strength and unity is. Because, let's face it, guys, united we stand, divided we fall, right? I mean, it's a cliche, but it's dang true, okay? And if you go back to the women's liberation movement, which began, I believe, in like the 60s, 70s, and really took hold, started gaining traction in the 80s, 90s, because my mom stayed home in the 70s, and,
good for her.
She started having to work. I mean, man, once my dad left, my mom had to work, and she worked at the gas stations. We struggled. So, but that was, definitely in the 80s. But if you go back and you look at those documents and you look at the determining factors of really why they did that, okay, and what their core reasoning was, because it came from the same forces that are running these media corporations, right, is that they realized that basically half of Americans were women, right?
Right.
And that means that half of the adult Americans were not in the workforce, right?
Right.
So then what was the government losing half of? Their tax revenue.
Correct.
Okay. And so they had to get those women into the workforce to get that tax revenue. Okay. And so they did the number one thing in that Communist Manifesto. They got a hold of the education system, and they started to educate an entire systemic group and country of employees. Okay. And then they took America off the gold standard in 1972.
Worst mistake ever.
Okay. 1972. Instituted all of the Fed, the printing money, the deficits, all the interest rates, all the debt. Heck, in 1981, I think Jimmy Carter sitting there as president of the United States, and we had 18% interest rates, 19% interest rates, okay? People will say, well, 8-9% today, that's not bad. Well, we weren't sitting on a $35 trillion sovereign debt at that time.
Right.
So
and also we just keep printing more money.
Yeah.
We're not backed by everything. So when they took us off the gold standard, what did that really do? And when we keep sending funding to other countries in terms of, helping their society, when all it really is insider trading and people getting rich off of it, you can't make any sense of it.
Well, and so as a young political activist and somebody who is going to be a difference maker in this game, Kennedy, and I know that for a fact, that's one of the things that you're going to have to fight, because what I truly believe is, and I've been watching this, I'm no expert, but what I truly believe is that a lot of young politicians get in the game with a sense of purpose. Okay, they want to make a difference. They want to do it for the greater good. Now, I'm not talking about the ones who are coming out of Georgetown. I'm not talking about the DC elites. I'm not talking about the hedge fund folks for Manhattan. I'm not talking about the hedgies there. I'm talking about, probably the 80% of folks that come in grassroots. They get in the game. Somebody's propped them up, inspired them, and they want to make a difference. But when they get into the game and they gain prominence and they gain a little bit of power, the money and the special interest, they come for them. Okay. And they get them. Okay. They get them. I believe that wholeheartedly, because there's no way that these people are so astronomically stupid to take the money that they once paid as taxpayers, okay, that their parents, they're probably one generation, they're probably first generation politicians, 80% of them, 85% of them. So they had a mom and dad that worked normal jobs. They had brothers and sisters that went to normal schools, right? Yeah. Most of them probably weren't the elite of the elite, wealthy, right, that were, trust fund kids and stuff like that. So they probably were real America, but they get into the bubble of the swamp. Okay, and Pfizer, Merck, Johnson & Johnson, GE, News Corp, Disney, Time Warner, BlackRock, Vanguard, they all throw this money at them, and they throw this power at them, and they get control. How do we change that?
Well, that's a really good question. And, something I've seen a lot in campaigning and working in official offices is the special interest of donors, right? And this is where lobbyists can be a really bad thing. I'll give you this much money if you push this agenda. I see it everywhere all the time.
So you're seeing that?
Yeah, every single day.
Yeah.
But what separates politicians from really standing on firmly what they believe and why they ran is this going to help, my district or not? Or is it going to fill my pockets? And I believe everybody in Nebraska has a good agenda. My boss has been the deputy chief of staff to Congressman Don Bacon for almost 8 years now, and they've won #1 in constituent services recently. And so, on a congressional level, that's amazing. Best in the U.S. Yep. But back to your point, how we fix that is we change the dynamic of fundraising, and we have to change the dynamic of what it takes for somebody to get elected. Because I like to point out campaigning in 4 points. It's message, media, money, and make no mistake. And money is, if we didn't have to spend so much money, I call people all the time, hey, could you give $500 to Felix? We need to fund, such and such. Or can you give us $15,000 to pay our interns that are going to door knock, which will help him get elected? That isn't agenda focused, right? That's more clean cut. But it gets dirtier on the national level. And so the problem is there needs to be a system in place where that changes. But nobody knows exactly what that is.
Yeah, I think that we have to go to some sort of scenario if we're going to clean it up, if we're ever going to have a chance to clean it up, to where there's got to be a limit on donations, okay? And it's got to be small numbers. And $500,000 donations, or maybe $5,000 cap or $10,000 cap. You can't get a whole lot of power if you're giving $10,000, okay? But if you're giving $150,000, if you're giving $2 million, if you're a Soros guy and you're pumping $60 million, or if you're Mark Zuckerberg and he pump in $430 million into the 2020 presidential election, yeah, you can gain some power. Another scenario that I think that is definitely problematic, think about this. Okay, so we have these committees in Congress, right? And let's just say the Ways and Means Committee, I don't know, okay? And we have to have committees, right? But when there are 8 of us on the Ways and Means Committee, and we have a congressional budget of $30 billion, then we have a lot of power, the 8 of us do. Okay?
Right.
Those lobbyists, those big corps, those big companies that want a piece of that $30 billion, they're coming for us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And we're human. And we're susceptible. Okay? There are probably many of these, people up in Washington, D.C., after so much time, after so many episodes, that their integrity, their character, their will, it gets chipped away. It gets chipped away like the waters of a river. Okay, it over time it just washes that rock away, and it doesn't make it sharp and fierce. It makes it round and smooth and easy. Okay, and so we have to have term limits. All right, that was a really good analogy, by the way.
Thank you.
I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, I also agree for term limits because, well, one of many reasons, but one is, when I'm looking at a politician who's been in the swamp for years and years and years and literally has no bills passed and is in a wheelchair, I'm blanking on the person I'm thinking of, but it's a problem.
Yeah. Like why?
You need somebody that comes in and produce results for your state and for your district. Most politicians these days don't really even go back to their district. And it's funny, when I've done my political research, I look at a lot of these Democratic districts, especially in New York and California and Washington, and they're completely run down, right? There's so many people on the streets. People, one, are dying, can't afford anything, and are fleeing because at this point, it's unattainable, the type of agenda that they're pushing and how expensive it's getting. And that's why I'm going to have a really hard time leaving the Midwest. If Trump gets in office, it's a different story. The swamp doesn't become the swamp anymore. But the Midwest is still normal and attainable, but it's one of the last, and I would say the South is too. But the Midwest and the South really are the last ones.
The last bastions of hope.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah, it is. So let's hit on a couple of different things right now, because we can keep going on this thing forever. I know I'm enjoying this. You're really, really good.
Thank you. So are you.
I want to give you a couple of names and get your opinion on them. Just get your first take on them, because I think that these people exemplify some of the elements that we've discussed here today, and they're just such lightning rods of controversy in our political landscape today. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Fighter. She's a fighter. She stands for the truth. I can always tell when a politician didn't get in it for the money, the power, the fame, the whatever. If you're going to Congress to gain power, try acting, maybe. It's like you will get nothing done if you're just going. I call them spotlight warriors.
Oh,
right?
I like it.
This is a lot of these Democrat SWs, and it's a sad fact, but she stands for the truth, and she's an example, and also somebody that I look up to, because at the end of the day, if we don't stand for truth, we don't stand for anything. And so people can say what they will about her and how intense she is and disagree with her values and beliefs. But to those people, I say, then what really do you stand for?
Me. They stand for their self.
Right.
They're in it for them, for their self.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz. He's interesting.
Yeah.
I can't quite figure him out. I think he's very passionate. I think he is pushing an America First agenda as well. But, I don't know too much about him, but I know he's been a good player for Trump.
Yeah. Who do you think President Trump's vice president nominee is going to be?
I like this question. So it needs to be someone that can garner different votes from Trump. Trump has the MAGA crowd. He certainly has the Republican crowd and the conservative crowd, What I think he needs more help with, which is certainly attainable, is the Kennedy Democrats and the independent voters. So what we've seen with RFK is, and by the way, love him. He's great. But independent voters, they still don't have a big base just for themselves by design, right? A two-party system is that's just the way it is. So it needs to be, I believe, either Tim Scott or Ben Carson.
Okay.
That's their best bet. Because also it needs to be somebody that if Trump were to, dare I say, be assassinated, be a next leader. And I would love to see a Ben Carson or a Tim Scott.
So you like either of them over Vivek?
I think Vivek is a great leader. And I actually almost worked on his team.
Really?
But I decided to stay in Nebraska.
Okay.
Yes. Supposed to do fundraising.
Okay.
For him. I literally DM'd Vivek, if you're watching. I DM'd you if you remember.
Holla.
And yeah, he was like, yeah, contact my my fundraising person.
He hit you back up?
Oh yeah.
Look at you.
I know, but I had to move to Ohio, and I'm huge on loyalty.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
And I committed to Felix's campaign.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go a different direction just because I got a better opportunity. I need to finish the fight, right?
Yeah, finish the race.
I'm not going to look like a flake, especially when I'm young. That's just not okay. And so I think Vivek he could definitely run in this next cycle, and I think he could easily win.
Yeah, I'm so impressed. That's really good. I actually talked to, do you know Trump's nephew? You know what I'm talking about? His name is Blow. He's the rapper with the Trump Latinos and all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I actually talked to him a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about doing some things together and this, that, and the other. And he told me he had actually met with Vivek. And Fargiato Blow, if you listen, if you're ever watching, what's up, my man? Love what you're doing. He's Trump's. He's awesome. Yeah. But he believed that Vivek would be next up. Okay, and that he actually could be a guy like a Tim Scott or Ben Carson, obviously, that could bring some people that don't look like you and I, to the fold. Which I think Trump's doing a great job of that anyway. I mean, he was in Brooklyn and did a rally over there, and it was an absolute,
the Bronx rally.
The Bronx rally. That was crazy. That was crazy. So, and I mean, it was in New Jersey. He went to New Jersey and had a beautiful crowd there as well. So he does. Anybody that he picks is only going to be a pick. I mean, he doesn't need anybody to get him across the finish line. President Trump, in my opinion, is the greatest American president, right next to President George Washington and President Abraham Lincoln, and I'm not sure which history in 100 years will show as the greatest. It's always going to be arguable in our country's history, and he has, in fact, led and inspired the greatest political and human movement, maybe, in the history of humankind, okay, which is the MAGA movement. Because the MAGA movement is not just isolated to America. If you look around the world at what's going on in France, what's going on in Germany, what's going on down in Brazil, and in different places all across the continent of the truth. It's the truth, and it's about the people. President Trump is a man of the people, and anyways, I am a huge believer in him and what he's done. And like you said, I do believe he's surrounded by an army of angels.
Yes. Now, if you don't mind me asking, I want to know who you would pick as a VP, or who you think Trump would pick.
If I could get him to get it to work, I would have him pick RFK.
Oh, no, I didn't think about that. Okay.
That's who I would bring together, because even though they have some opposing viewpoints, he does bring all the Kennedy
voters. Yep. That's the bread and butter right there.
Absolutely. And they have a relationship.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to add him into my response.
They have a relationship, right? And Trump is the master of the art of the deal. And so it's
a great book.
That is a potential. So for me, I believe that's what would be the best for the country. I mean, Vivek, Tucker don't want to get in the political landscape. I mean, Kerry Lake, but what is Kerry Lake? One big, you got to get some winners. I mean, so anyways, I think that let's go back to you because we want to wrap this thing up, and I want you to tell us what is the future for Kennedy Goetz. What is your goal? Where do you see yourself 5 years, 10 years from now? What is your trajectory?
Well, thank you. What I've learned is I can always have a plan, but I don't always know if that coincides with what God has for me. And so if I told you that I would be here today, even a year ago, I would have said you're crazy. If I would have told you a year ago today that I was moving back to Nebraska to run a campaign or two, I would have said there's no way. What I would love is to grow my business, is to have a more national presence, especially at some point. I would love to serve in the White House and on the Hill in some capacity, or run a governor's race, another senator's race, even congressional. I've already worked on a congressional race as well. But the sky's the limit for me. I would love to grow my media presence as well. And so, it's only up from here.
Yeah, it really is. I'm super impressed by you, and I think that whatever goals that you have before you, whatever plans God has, destined for you, I truly believe that you're going to be able to attain them. Just definitely remember always to keep God first place, and He's going to take you places that you could never ever dream of. He's going to align your steps. And stay true to yourself and to the people that you align yourself with. Be careful with them. Taria is a great person. She is a great role model. Taria, I'm so thankful that you.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you, girl. Thank you for referring Kennedy to us, and keep your arm around her, okay? And keep doing great. And text me. But yeah, no, and listen, so just understand you're in a game, okay? Politics in America is a full combat sport. It is a contact sport, okay? So pad yourself up and get tough and get that thick skin, which I know you will. You come from good stock. Your mom and dad, they're good people, and I know that they've raised you right. And you're always going to have a fan in me and Red Taylor. A home here at the Red Hot Read, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
And I hope you'll come back. Will you come back?
Oh, always. Yes.
Love it.
For sure.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, so that's the young, the great Kennedy Goetz, and I want you guys to follow her. Where can people find you? Where can they learn more about you, Kennedy?
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram. It's just Kennedy Goetz, and then all other platforms.
How do you spell Goetz?
Goetz. A lot of people like to say goats.
Okay, Kennedy Goetz.
Kennedy gets it done.
Kennedy gets it done. I love it. Okay, hey, that's Red Taylor and Kennedy Goetz from the Red Hot Read. Thanks, guys.